Yesterday, Donald did something shocking. I mean, it wasn't that said he wasn't going to do something and then ended up doing it. He lies about stuff all the time. That is a day ending in Y. It wasn't even that he did this thing, because we should all know by now that he is a destructive little creep, but it's what he did. Slightly after 5 p.m. yesterday, photos and videos started circulating of the facade of the east wing of the White House being demolished. It turns out that this is part of the plan for the construction of Donald's $250 million White House Ballroom. ABC's Good Morning America has more.
This morning, demolition day at the White House. Crews tearing down walls as construction for President Trump's 90,000 square foot ballroom ramps up. The president once promised the project would not interfere with the current structure of the White House.
It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it, but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. It's my favorite.
But bulldozers ripped away portions of the East Wing yesterday. The president hosting an event inside the White House, acknowledging the nearby demolition.
Right on the other side, you have a lot of construction going on, which you might hear periodically.
Constructed in 1902, the East Wing houses the office of the First Lady, as well as the visitor's entrance where the public can begin tours of the executive mansion. Expected to cost $250 million, the ballroom will be larger than the White House residence itself and able to hold nearly 1,000 people. President Trump insisting it's entirely funded through private donations. The president claiming, without providing any evidence, that he's paying for some of it himself.
Yes, without any evidence. Thank you so much for including that caveat, because we should never believe a word this horrible human being says. Right now, we're in the middle of a government shutdown. A significant majority of civil servants have been furloughed, which is to say, not only are they not working, they're not getting paid. Other members of the civil service, including our military, have to show up to work and are not getting paid. Air traffic controllers are considered essential workers. Understandably, they are still getting paid, but that may not last long. Thank goodness, though, there's $250 million kicking around for Donald to build yet another monument to his pathetic ego. Donald is a civil servant only in the most technical sense of the term, but he is a civil servant who lives in public housing we pay for. He lives in our house, the people's house. He has no right at all to do what he did. That was an act of vandalism, and it should be punished accordingly. But the spineless fascist Republicans will look the other way, no matter how disgusted they might be privately. Earlier today, Donald commented on this act of destruction in an address at what used to be the White House Rose Garden and is now a parking lot. He had this to say.
This has been a labor of love. You know, we took over a building that was not properly taken care of. It just wasn't. It's a very special building, and we are taking care of it. This was grass, and when you have a news conference, and this was going on for many years, but everybody would just sink into the mud. It was extremely luxurious grass, especially when it was raining, because you'd go down about 5 inches into the mud. And when we had a press conference here, all the press standing back there, they'd be cursing me. The women would be lifting up their shoes saying, "You've destroyed my shoes. This is terrible."
I am so bloody tired of that man and his inanities. Now, people blame you for a lot of things, Donald. Their shoes sinking into the mud in the Rose Garden. That is probably not one of them. Donald Trump is a destructive force. He is incapable of creating anything good. So he tears things down. He claims falsely that building, the White House, was not properly taken care of. I've been in the White House. It was actually one of the worst nights of my life, but I was there. It is impeccably maintained. It is a beautiful, beautiful building. And I have to guess that part of why this is happening is because Melania wanted an upgrade. From the outset, Donald has insisted that this grotesque ballroom, would be paid for with private donations. Yesterday, just as these images started circulating, he took to his failing social media site to comment on the situation. He wrote, in part, quote, "I am pleased to announce that ground has been broken on the White House grounds to build the new, big, beautiful White House Ballroom. I'm honored to be the first grifter finally to get this much needed project underway with zero cost to the American taxpayer. The White House Ballroom is being privately funded by many generous patrons, great American companies, and yours truly," unquote. If you believe that Donald Trump is putting a dime of the money he has grifted off the American taxpayer into that project, you are as deluded as he is. It is very possible that some of the same people who donated to the inauguration, the Bezoses and the Zuckerbergs of the world, are contributing to this horrific project, blood money and all. But I'm guessing that it's the American people mostly who are footing the bill. Just to put this in context, again, not only are many civil servants out of work and not getting paid right now, many of them won't have jobs to come back to because of the Trump regime. But as we've talked about before, Donald is bankrupting American farmers. Unemployment is rising, inflation is rising, prices are rising. That ballroom, I have no doubt, will be as hideous as he has made the Oval Office, but there's no accounting for taste. But how many people will ever see the inside of that room? And what is it for other than to prop up this tiny man? Well, we're dealing with a grifter. He's taken so many bribes and engaged in countless acts of money laundering. So we should put absolutely nothing past him. The question who's donating to this project is a legitimate one, especially since we know that he is perfectly willing to take gifts for favors. All I need to mention at this point is the $400 million 747 that Qatar gifted him, not the American people, and that he is using over $1 billion of Pentagon dollars to upgrade and refurbish. But before we go on, we must keep calling out Donald's corruption and destructive behavior. So please like and share this video. And if you believe in our mission, please subscribe to our channel. The Washington Post reports that the renovation has gotten millions of dollars from tech, crypto, and defense corporations, including Coinbase, Apple, Amazon, Lockheed Martin, and Palantir. At a dinner at the White House on October 15th, Donald celebrated donors such as Blackstone's Steven Schwartzman and the Winklevoss twins. He pointed out that some gifts reached as high as $25 million. I wonder if those guys have any money that they contribute to USAID, which actually, I know that's not as important as building a fucking ballroom, but maybe they could be bothered donating some money so children don't starve or die of easily preventable diseases? I guess not. The project has already raised more than will cost to build it. So Donald has floated the idea of using the excess funds to build a grand arch near Arlington Memorial Bridge, allegedly for this country's 250th birthday, which is happening next year. But the arc is being referred to as the Arc de Trump, which fills me with so much shame. I would like to crawl into a very deep, dark hole. And worse, he has made it very clear the purpose of this arc is to honor him. That is your leader. As I mentioned, though, Donald may have crossed the line, at least with some people, because demolishing a wing of the White House, again, a house he does not own and has no rights to touch, has many Americans, quite frankly, freaked out. Photos and videos of this historic building being reduced to rubble by a bulldozer are taking social media by storm, and people are turning their outrage into action. For instance, Newsweek reports that Iseco LLC, the contractor who took on this demolition job, has been receiving a trove of negative reviews on its website. Newsweek also adds that, quote, changes to the White House building must be vetted by the National Capital Planning Commission Board, but the head of the panel that Donald appointed said last night that the demolition work fell outside the board's jurisdiction, giving the green light for it to proceed without their approval, unquote. In other words, he lied to you just like Donald has been lying to all of us. The Trump regime is trying to contain the damage being done by this horrific story and the lies that have led to it, and they're failing. CNBC reports, quote, that the Treasury Department told staff not to share photos of the White House's East Wing as parts of it are demolished to build a new ballroom at the behest of Donald, unquote. That's right. They were going to do this under cover of darkness so that we wouldn't know what was really going on, so this toddler tyrant could get his way without having to face public accountability for it. You know, one of his fortes. The White House, again, is our house. Nobody has the right to touch it without our permission, and if somebody does so, they deserve to be held accountable for it. But accountability and Donald go together like oil and water, so let's not hold our breath, shall we? But also, let's not let this go. Let's protest this act of desecration. Every single day it continues. And let's make sure that no one who is misguided or craven or stupid enough to accept an invitation to that ballroom ever enjoys it. Please take a second and like and share this video. Be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.